There comes a moment in everyone's life when they look around and wonder, why am I still struggling? Why does success seem to come so easily to others but not to me? You work hard, you push yourself, you try to stay positive, and yet something still feels stuck. It's not because you were born into the wrong family or because life is unfair. The truth is deeper than that. You stay poor until you learn this. Money is not what makes you rich. It's your mindset, your discipline, and your value that determine your wealth. Poverty is not simply the absence of money. It is the absence of a certain kind of thinking. It's a mindset, a lens through which you see yourself and the world. You can take a poor man and give him a fortune, but if he still thinks in the same way, that fortune will soon be gone. You can take a wealthy person, strip them of everything, and within a few years, they'll find a way to rebuild, not because they had money, but because they had a mindset that created it. Until you change how you think about wealth, effort, and purpose, your reality will remain the same no matter how hard you work or how many chances you get. The poverty mindset is rooted in limitation. It whispers, I can't, I don't have enough, or it's impossible. It convinces you that the world owes you something, that your background defines your future, that you are a victim of circumstance rather than a master of destiny. This mindset creates invisible walls. You stop dreaming, stop trying, stop believing that something greater is possible. You see opportunity as something that belongs to others but not to you. You start thinking survival, not success. You do just enough to get by but never enough to grow. And this is how poverty continues, not in the streets but in the mind. On the other hand, the wealth mindset is not about luxury, greed, or endless accumulation. It's about value, growth, and creation. People with a wealth mindset see money as energy, a reflection of the value they bring into the world. They don't wait for chances, they create them. They don't complain about problems, they solve them. They don't compare themselves with others. They compete only with who they were yesterday. While the poor mindset sees scarcity, the wealthy mindset sees abundance. The poor say, I wish I had that, while the wealthy say, how can I build that? It all begins with thought. The way you speak to yourself determines what you allow yourself to pursue. When you think poor, you act poor. You avoid risks. You fear failure. You hesitate to learn, to explore, to invest in yourself. But when you think wealthy, you view every failure as feedback, every obstacle as opportunity. You start seeing that wealth isn't given, it's grown. It's not luck, it's leverage. You start to understand that you are responsible for what you attract. The tragedy is that most people believe money will fix their poverty, but it won't. Without a shift in mindset, money only magnifies your weaknesses. If you're careless, you'll lose it. If you're fearful, you'll hide it. If you're greedy, it will destroy you. But when your mindset is aligned with growth, money becomes a tool, not a trap. It becomes a servant, not a master. You start to make decisions not from desperation, but from wisdom. You begin to understand that the real wealth is not in your pocket, but in your potential. A wealthy mindset values knowledge. It invests in learning, in self-improvement, in habits that build character. The poor mindset says, I can't afford to learn. The wealthy mindset says, I can't afford not to. The poor mindset waits for miracles. The wealthy mindset works for them. One prays for blessings without preparing for them. The other builds the capacity to hold them. Look around. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck isn't luck or talent. It's mindset. Two people can face the same problem. One sees it as the end, the other sees it as a beginning. The first one gives up, the second one grows up. This is why transformation always begins in thought. You can't build an empire with the mind of a victim. You can't expect prosperity while feeding your mind with fear, envy, and self-doubt. The mind is the soil of your destiny. If you plant scarcity, you'll reap lack. If you plant faith, discipline, and action, you'll reap abundance. Every wealthy person once started poor, not in money, but in experience. The only difference is that they refuse to think poor. They refuse to let the external define their internal. So if you want to change your life, start by changing your thinking. Start by asking yourself, what am I focusing on daily? The lack or the opportunity? Train your mind to see growth where others see defeat. Speak abundance, think abundance. and act in abundance even before you see it. That is how the shift begins, from poverty to prosperity, from limitation to liberation. You will stay poor until you realize that wealth is not something you chase, it's something you attract by becoming more valuable. Change your thoughts and your actions will follow. Change your actions and your results will transform. Once your mindset evolves, poverty can no longer hold you, because wealth always follows wisdom, and wisdom begins with belief. Every person who feels stuck, who feels like no matter how hard they try, nothing seems to change, is usually held back by one thing: limiting beliefs. These are invisible chains forged by years of doubt, fear, and failure that convince you that you are not enough. They are the quiet voices in your head that say, "This is just who I am. People like me never make it," or "Success isn't meant for me." And the most dangerous thing about these beliefs is that they don't scream, they whisper. They become so familiar that you start mistaking them for truth. Limiting beliefs are powerful because they shape how you interpret the world. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll see misfortune everywhere. If you believe you're destined to fail, you'll give up before you begin. You'll start attracting situations that confirm your beliefs, not because the world is unfair, but because your mindset filters what's possible. The truth is, you're not limited by your situation, you're limited by your perception of your situation. Two people can face the same setback. One sees an end, the other sees a beginning. The only difference is what they believe about themselves. The first step to breaking the cycle is awareness. Most people live their entire lives inside the walls of their mental prisons without realizing they've built them. They live according to rules they never chose, boundaries they never tested, fears they never questioned. They inherit beliefs from society, family, culture, and experiences, and these beliefs silently dictate what they attempt, how far they reach, and what they expect from life. A person might say, "I'm not good with money. I'll always be average," or "People like me can't change." Each of those statements is not a reflection of reality, but a reflection of programming. And until that programming is rewritten, the results will never change. To break limiting beliefs, you must challenge every thought that tells you you can't. You must question the stories that define you. Who said you can't be successful? Who said you're not worthy? Who said your past decides your future? Most of the time, those voices belong to people who stopped believing in themselves long ago. Their fears became your fears, and their limits became your limits. But you were never born with those beliefs. You learned them. And anything learned can be unlearned. Breaking the cycle means replacing doubt with discipline, fear with faith, and excuses with effort. It means realizing that every belief either builds you or breaks you. If your mind is filled with thoughts of lack, you'll live in lack. If it's filled with thoughts of growth, you'll start expanding in every area of your life. The battle isn't around you, it's inside you. Every time you tell yourself, "I can," you weaken the walls that keep you trapped. Every time you take a small step forward despite fear, you remind your brain that you are capable of more. One of the biggest lies limiting beliefs tell you is that you need to wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right version of yourself. But the truth is, the right moment is the one you decide to act. Waiting is a symptom of fear disguised as patience. You don't need more time, you need more courage. The world won't hand you permission to grow. You must claim it. And the moment you do, you begin to see that the limits you once feared were never real. They were walls made of smoke, disappearing the instant you walk through them. It's not easy, though. The mind resists change because it seeks comfort. Even in misery, it would rather stay in a familiar pain than face an unfamiliar possibility. That's why breaking limiting beliefs requires constant repetition and exposure to new truths. Read, learn, listen, and surround yourself with people who think bigger. When you see what's possible for others, your own mind begins to stretch. You start to realize that abundance isn't reserved for a few. It's available to anyone who believes they can create it. You are not your failures. You are not your past. You are not the stories that small-minded people told you. You are potential in motion. And the only thing separating you from transformation is the belief that it's not possible. The day you change that belief is the day your life begins to change. The truth is simple: your beliefs create your reality. If you want a different reality, start by believing differently. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "it's too late" with "it's my time." Replace "I'm not enough" with "I'm becoming." When your beliefs begin to change, your choices begin to align, your confidence grows, and your actions start reflecting a new level of power. You will stay poor in spirit, poor in opportunity, and poor in growth until you break the cycle of limiting beliefs. But once you do, you'll realize that wealth, success, and purpose were never distant dreams. They were waiting inside you all along, hidden beneath the weight of what you told yourself wasn't possible. The chains fall the moment you decide to believe again. The greatest investment you can ever make is not in property, gold, or business. It's in yourself. You are your most valuable asset. Yet most people spend years working for others, chasing money, and waiting for opportunities without realizing that their income, their growth, and their impact are all direct reflections of their level of knowledge and skill. The truth is, you will stay poor until you learn to educate yourself beyond the traditional system. The world is not rewarding degrees anymore. It's rewarding skills, creativity, and the ability to solve problems. The more you grow, the more value you bring. The more value you bring, the more the world rewards you. Self-education is the difference between those who keep up and those who are left behind. Schools may teach you facts, but they don't teach you how to think. They may prepare you for a job, but not for freedom. The people who break cycles, who change their destiny, are those who take responsibility for their learning. They read when others scroll. They study when others sleep. They experiment when others complain. They understand that ignorance is the most expensive poverty in the world. You don't lose in life because of lack of opportunity. You lose because you stop learning. In today's world, everything is accessible. You can learn almost any skill, build any business, or master any trade from a device in your hand. Yet most people use that same device to waste time, gossip, or distract themselves from the very life they want to build. The successful ones see their phone as a classroom, not an escape. They are hungry to grow. They watch, listen, read, and apply. They are not waiting for motivation. They are driven by the vision of what they could become. The difference between the rich and the poor mindset lies in how they use their time. The poor mindset consumes, the wealthy mindset creates. The poor mindset seeks entertainment, the wealthy mindset seeks education. Every time you choose a video that inspires over one that distracts, a book over a complaint, a podcast over procrastination, you're shifting your future, because knowledge compounds like money. The more you invest, the more it multiplies. Learning new skills doesn't just give you information, it gives you confidence. When you master something, whether it's communication, leadership, business, or creativity, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop feeling powerless. You realize that the key to every door you've been knocking on was in your hands all along. You stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. You stop chasing success and start attracting it. That's the power of knowledge. It doesn't just change what you can do, it changes who you believe you are. Self-education is also about mindset training. You could know every business strategy in the world, but if your thinking is weak, you'll never apply it. Knowledge without mental discipline is useless. That's why the most successful people in the world constantly feed their minds with motivation, discipline, and wisdom. They understand that success begins in thought and is built through habit. They wake up early not because they have to, but because they are committed to their own growth. They read books on psychology, faith, and success because they know one new idea can shift an entire life. It's important to understand that learning doesn't stop at knowledge, it must turn into skill. Knowledge tells you what to do, skill shows you how to do it. Skill comes from repetition, from practice, from consistency. Too many people quit before they master their craft because they expect quick results. But every master was once a beginner who refused to give up. The one who studies daily, even a little, grows while others stay the same. When you invest in learning, you begin to detach from dependency. You stop waiting for others to lift you, pay you, or save you. You start taking charge of your future. You realize that if you can learn one skill that solves a problem, you'll never be broke again. Whether it's design, writing, marketing, trading, public speaking, or any craft, every skill has the power to buy you freedom. But that freedom only comes to those who take learning seriously. Many people pray for change, but forget that prayer must be followed by preparation. You can't ask for abundance while refusing to grow into someone capable of handling it. You can't expect wealth without developing the wisdom to manage it. That's why life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're ready for. And readiness comes from self-education. If you want to rise above average, make learning your lifestyle. Replace empty conversations with meaningful lessons. Replace mindless scrolling with powerful reading. Replace doubt with discovery. Every book you read, every course you take, every lesson you apply moves you closer to mastery. And mastery will always attract prosperity. In the end, education is not about what you know. It's about who you become. When you decide to educate yourself, you declare that you will no longer live as a victim of ignorance, but as a creator of opportunity. You begin to see that your mind is your greatest investment, your skills are your currency, and your growth is your gateway to freedom. Self-education is the foundation upon which every fortune is built. And the moment you dedicate yourself to learning, you begin the process of changing your life forever. The truth that most people avoid is this: no dream, no goal. No transformation happens without discipline. You can have the biggest vision, the strongest desire, the loudest prayers, but if you lack consistency and the willingness to sacrifice, you will stay exactly where you are. Success doesn't come to the most talented or the most gifted. It comes to the most disciplined. It comes to those who show up every day, even when it hurts, even when no one claps, even when the results seem invisible. Discipline is not punishment, it's power. It's what separates those who wish from those who win. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Feelings are temporary, but habits create destiny. The person who waits to feel ready never begins. The one who moves despite fear, despite fatigue, becomes unstoppable. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect. It's you telling your future that you're serious about it. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, get tired, and give up just before the breakthrough. They plant seeds but never stay long enough to see them grow. Consistency is the hidden law of growth. One workout won't change your body. One book won't change your mind. One act of kindness won't change your life. But when you repeat them over time, transformation becomes inevitable. Life rewards persistence. Every day you show up is a day you separate yourself from those who quit. Every hour of effort, every disciplined decision compounds silently until one day it looks like an overnight success. But there is no overnight. There are years of unseen work, of small sacrifices, of quiet discipline that build what the world later calls greatness. Sacrifice is the price of change. You cannot rise without letting go of something: comfort, laziness, distraction, or fear. You can't build a new life while clinging to the old one. Every successful person has sacrificed something they once enjoyed for something greater they now deserve. The problem is that most people want results without effort, success without struggle, growth without pain. But comfort never created, warrior struggle did. Growth doesn't happen in safety. It happens in discomfort, in discipline, in the moments you feel like quitting but don't. Discipline is freedom disguised as effort. The more disciplined you become, the freer you are from chaos, excuses, and regret. It's ironic that the very thing people avoid, structure, is the thing that sets them free. When you control your habits no longer control you. You start waking up with purpose instead of confusion, direction instead of distraction. The life you want requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet, and discipline is the bridge that takes you there. Every successful person you admire has mastered the art of doing things they don't want to do day after day. They don't rely on motivation, they rely on momentum. Motivation fades, but discipline remains. That's why winners build systems instead of waiting for inspiration. They create routines that guide them even when their emotions try to pull them off track. They've learned that discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. You may fall, fail, or get tired, but as long as you rise and keep going, you're still moving forward. The challenge for most people is that discipline demands sacrifice. It means saying no when others say yes. It means working while others rest. It means delaying gratification today to enjoy greater rewards tomorrow. But those sacrifices are never in vain. Every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. Every time you choose focus over comfort, you are building a future your lazy self could only dream of. Discipline may feel heavy now, but regret weighs more. Consistency transforms effort into excellence. The person who writes 1 page a day will have a book in a year. The one who saves a small amount daily will have wealth in time. The one who prays, studies, or trains regularly will find peace, knowledge, and strength. The key isn't speed, it's staying power. You don't need to be perfect every day. You just need to refuse to quit, because progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from persistence. Discipline, consistency, and sacrifice form the triangle of transformation. One without the others collapses. Discipline gives direction, consistency builds momentum, and sacrifice fuels endurance. When you learn to embrace all three, you become unstoppable. Life will test you, delay you, and tempt you to quit, but your consistency will protect your vision. Every time you act with discipline, you take one more step away from the person you were and closer to the person you were meant to become. In the end, your future will not be decided by luck, wishes, or chances. It will be decided by what you choose to do every day when no one is watching. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is divine. It's the quiet force that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. So train yourself to be consistent, sacrifice your comfort for your calling, and watch how your life transforms slowly, quietly, and powerfully until the world finally sees what you've been building all along. In the pursuit of success, wealth, or change, many people forget one of the most powerful forces in the universe: divine timing. We live in a world obsessed with speed, where people want instant success, instant happiness, instant results. But real growth doesn't happen in a moment, it happens in seasons. Every delay, every setback, every unanswered prayer carries a lesson, and sometimes what feels like a denial is actually divine protection. Faith, patience, and trust are not just spiritual virtues. They are the foundation for peace and progress in a world that constantly tests your endurance. Faith means believing even when there is no evidence yet. It means planting seeds and trusting that rain will come even if the sky looks dry. The greatest achievers in life, whether in faith, business, or personal growth, are those who didn't give up when things were uncertain. They continued to act, to build, to believe, because they knew that every effort was being seen, every tear was being counted, and every hardship was shaping them for something greater. Faith is what keeps you standing when everything else falls apart. It's the fire that burns quietly in the heart, whispering, "It will happen, just not yet." Patience, on the other hand, is the proof of faith. Anyone can believe for a day, a week, or a month, but true believers stay firm even when the wait feels endless. Patience is not passive waiting, it's active endurance. It's doing your best while trusting that the timing of the outcome belongs to something higher than you. Many people destroy their blessings by rushing the process. They want the fruit before the roots are deep enough to hold it. They want the prize without the preparation. But life, like nature, has divine order. You cannot force a flower to bloom before its time, and if you do, it will wither quickly. Likewise, every delay in your life is preparing you for a harvest that will last. There are times when your prayers seem unanswered, your plans fall apart, and your dreams feel distant. That's when trust in divine timing becomes your greatest strength. You must remind yourself that you see only a small piece of the puzzle, but the one who created you sees the entire picture. What you call a setback might be a setup. What you think is rejection might be redirection. The doors that close now may be saving you from something you weren't ready to handle. True success is not about everything going according to your plan. It's about aligning yourself with a higher plan that always works for your good, even when you can't see it yet. When you trust divine timing, you stop comparing your journey to others. You understand that just because someone else is winning today doesn't mean you've lost. Everyone's season is different. The sun doesn't rise for all at once. It shines where it's meant to at the right time. So don't envy someone else's light. Focus on preparing for yours. The waiting season is not wasted time. It's the time when character, wisdom, and strength are built. It's the time when you're molded into the person capable of holding what you've prayed for. Patience also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything. You can work hard, plan smart, and stay consistent, but ultimately, results come when they are meant to come. This humility doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It frees you from frustration and fills you with peace. You stop chasing what isn't meant for you and start nurturing what is within your reach. That's when life begins to flow instead of fight you. Faith gives you hope, patience gives you peace, and trust gives you direction. Together, they turn trials into transformation. Without them, you'll burn out trying to control what isn't yours to control. You'll lose sleep worrying about what you can't change. But when you surrender your timeline and put your trust in the process, you'll find that everything unfolds perfectly. Not when you wanted it, but when you needed it most. Remember, divine timing is never late. It may not match your plan, but it will always match your purpose. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away. They weren't mistakes, they were messages. They were guiding you towards something greater, something aligned with your true path. Every delay has a reason. Every waiting period has a purpose. So don't lose faith just because you can't see progress yet. The seed doesn't stop growing just because it's buried underground. Trust that the work you're doing in silence, the patience you're showing in trials, and the faith you're holding onto in darkness are all part of your preparation for a brighter, more abundant tomorrow. Life changes the moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "What is this teaching me?" Because that's when patience turns into wisdom and faith turns into miracles. Poverty does not begin in the wallet, it begins in the mind. Long before a person struggles financially, they have already accepted limitations in their thinking. They've believed the lie that this is all I'll ever have, or this is the life I was meant to live. That belief quietly poisons their effort, their creativity, and their courage to grow. To escape poverty, one must first escape the prison of poverty thinking. Because the truth is, abundance is not something you find, it's something you create through discipline, mindset, and alignment with purpose. Every successful person you see today once stood at the bottom. What separated them from others wasn't just opportunity or luck, it was perspective. They refused to think like victims. They refused to say, "I can't," instead asked, "How can I?" The moment you shift your questions, your destiny begins to change. Poor thinking focuses on what's missing. Prosperous thinking focuses on what's possible. Poor thinking sees obstacles. Prosperous thinking sees opportunity in disguise. One mindset sees lack, the other sees lessons. It's not about pretending everything is easy. It's about training your mind to believe that change is always within reach. The greatest danger of poverty is not the lack of money, it's the loss of belief. When someone gives up on themselves, no amount of external help can save them. But when a person believes, even in the smallest spark of hope, they become unstoppable. This is why your thoughts matter more than your circumstances. You can give two people the same resources, and one will build success while the other will stay stuck. The difference is not in what they have, it's in how they think. Poverty tells you to consume, prosperity tells you to create. Poverty tells you to wait for help, prosperity tells you to help yourself. Poverty focuses on survival, prosperity focuses on growth. Many people unknowingly train their minds to stay poor. They make excuses instead of plans. They complain instead of learning. They spend time on entertainment instead of education. But every moment you waste on distractions, you delay your breakthrough. Wealth begins with awareness. Awareness of your habits, your words, and your decisions. If your words are always, "I can't afford this," or "people like me never succeed," you're programming your mind to reject abundance. The mind obeys what you repeatedly tell it. If you speak limitation, you live limitation. But if you speak vision, discipline, and faith, you invite transformation. One of the biggest shifts a person can make is from dependency to responsibility. Poverty thrives on dependency, waiting for others to rescue you, waiting for luck, waiting for someone else's approval. But prosperity thinking says, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. It teaches ownership of your time, your effort, your choices. It teaches you that no one owes you anything, but you owe it to yourself to try. When you think this way, even failure becomes fuel. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes motivation to rise stronger. Gratitude is another weapon against poverty thinking. People who always complain about what they don't have block the energy of progress. But those who are grateful for even the smallest blessings attract more reasons to be grateful. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, and abundance grows where attention flows. When you wake up each day and focus on your health, your talents, your opportunities, even if small, you create a vibration of growth. Life responds to that energy. Doors start opening not because the world suddenly changes, but because you do. To transform poverty thinking, you must also redefine what wealth means. True wealth isn't just about numbers in your account, it's about peace, purpose, and productivity. It's about knowing that your value doesn't depend on what you own, but on what you contribute. Prosperity thinking teaches you to build rather than boast, to serve rather than show off. The more you add value to others, the more life adds value to you. The world doesn't pay for wishes, it pays for solutions. So if you want to grow, start asking, what can I give instead of what can I get? That shift alone can change your entire life. Finally, prosperity thinking is rooted in faith, the belief that your Creator designed you for more than struggle. Every challenge you face is not proof of your limitation, but a test of your potential. You were not made to live in scarcity forever. You were created with the ability to dream, to act, and to transform your environment. When you think rich, not in arrogance, but in purpose, you begin to attract opportunities aligned with that energy. The poor wait for miracles. The prosperous become the miracle through hard work, gratitude, and belief. If you truly want to leave poverty behind, begin with your thoughts. Guard them like treasure. Speak abundance, act with discipline. Serve with humility and trust that every small effort you make is watering the seeds of a better tomorrow. Because the moment your mind breaks free, your life will follow. The transformation always starts within.